Well, I'm Shini from the Cybersecurity Agency of Singapore, CSA in short. CSA is glad to support Singapore Computer Society in their 17th run of the Splash Awards. This is actually aligned to the objectives under one of our programs, the SG Cyber Youth, that's designed to guide youths in their cybersecurity journey. And actually this is under the broader national initiative known as the SG Cyber Talent. As part of Singapore's efforts to build the cybersecurity talent pipeline, CSA has brought together various industry partners to develop programs such as the SG Cyber Youth and the SG Cyber Women. So this is all under the national initiative, SG Cyber Talent, which I shared earlier. SG Cyber Talent actually aims to nurture talented cybersecurity enthusiasts from a young age and to help the existing cybersecurity professionals to deepen their skills. SG Cyber Youth and SG Cyber, there's also another program called SG Cyber Women, aim to amend the talent pipeline through engaging the younger generation, as well as those who are currently not in the cybersecurity field, and also in cultivating their interest in cybersecurity. So, maybe I will just share some of the programs that's actually under SG Cyber Youth. Some of the activities include like the Youth Cyber Exploration Program. It is actually YSEP. It's actually a 4-day cybersecurity bootcamp that's meant to equip secondary school students with fundamental cybersecurity concepts and to give them opportunities with hands-on lab sessions. And CSA has also partnered SES to organize the cybersecurity career mentoring program for students and professionals to receive career guidance with support from experienced cybersecurity mentors and industry experts. This is held quarterly through talks and panel discussions. And the next session is actually on 30th September next week. And so feel free to contact SES for more details, or you can actually look out in their portal to see how to sign up on that. We also like to introduce SG Cyber Women. It's one of the programs by CSA that actually aims to attract a diverse local talent pool through partnering with professional associations like SES to encourage girls to pursue tertiary education in cybersecurity and also to inspire women to take on cybersecurity roles. Do join us in the upcoming event. We are going to have in our Singapore International Cyber Week. It's one of the flagship events by CSA. We'll be having this Women in Cyber event on 7 October, 5 to 7 p.m., which you could hear from the international cybersecurity leaders and practitioners on topics ranging on how they overcome the challenges during the pandemic crisis to their valuable experience in cybersecurity. There are rewarding jobs in cybersecurity. So, and they present a wide range of learning opportunities and offer a chance for continuous personal development. We would like to see more youths take an interest in cybersecurity and also to explore various cybersecurity job roles in the market. This year, due to the COVID-19 situation, SES has reworked their plans for the competition to be held virtually. We are heartened that many of you have great ideas for this year's theme, AI in our daily lives. For all technology ideas or products, cybersecurity is definitely a key consideration and needs to be factored into your design of products of services. So this is also known as security by design and proactively protect systems against cyber threats. Through this maybe about 1.5 hours of webinar, we hope that students are trained in basic and essential cybersecurity skills and incorporate these considerations into your projects. So all the best for your projects. Okay, I'll hand over to today's speaker.
Okay, thank you, Shinin. Let me share my slides. Okay, welcome to Splash Award 2020 Cybersecurity. My name is Tui Wee. I'm from Nanyang Poly. So today, thank you CSA and SCS for inviting me to conduct this webinar on cybersecurity essential. Now you can download the slides together with two simple workshops from this particular QR code, right? So I'll let you have some time to download first. So my email is on the screen. So if you have any question, we can follow up via this email. Okay, so I'll move on now. Just a little update on the roadmap that we'll be going through today for 1 hour. And basically, this entire suite of information or knowledge is for our participants who are the secondary school students as well as tertiary students. So they're catered for them as an introduction. So today we'll be going through some of the fundamental, okay, if not then some of the foundational level security knowledge level, okay, rather than more on the higher level stuff. So hopefully students can pick up those concepts and move on to some of the ideas they might have for their project itself. All right. So understand that today we also have many professionals with us today. All right. So bear with us if you have know some of this concept. I guess there are various areas that we can explore as well, especially in the core security principle, which I'll be talking about later on. Right. So the first thing I'll be touching on will be the landscape of cybersecurity. Then we'll move on to the pillars of the information security as well. What are the things that decide what's important, all right, and the key concept of the principle as well as some of the best practices in terms of access control, cryptography as well, internet threats, and web communication security. Okay, the first cybersecurity landscape. Let's take a look at the current landscape of the cybersecurity. The first thing I would like to introduce is the definition of cybersecurity. So NIST, have three important definitions. The first one is the cyberspace. So we all know a cyberspace is a place whereby it is a network of domain that allows devices to network together and exchange data. So in this cyberspace is where most of the devices meet, most of the devices carry out all the communications, and that is where most of the attackers or the hackers will be, subject their activities over there, and we call them the cyber attack as well. So these cyber attack are mainly activities, all right, malicious activities that may disrupt or destroy infrastructure or even steal data, kind of stuff. And in terms of the cybersecurity wise, is the ability to protect or defend the use of cyberspace from cyber attack. So this is the main definition from NIST. So in terms of characteristic of cyberspace, all right, there is this important point called borderless/lawless. So I kind of strike out the word lawless. I would say that in current context, if you go to the internet itself, all right, is a free zone. It's a place whereby most of the devices and most of the people interact. I consider that as borderless. Yes. So internet has no official centralized governance. But of course, in terms of law, we are subject to the telco law, all right, the law that you're connected to in terms of even Singapore data privacy laws. So those are still some laws in the country, and data law, all right. So I will not say it's lawless, but the lawless here means that there could be hackers out there, all right, that can do many wonderful stuff, okay, many dangerous stuff as well, okay. And due to the fact that the internet itself is ubiquitous, that means all the computers, devices are well connected and contactable, that becomes a problem. Okay, because they're so connected, it means that in cyberspace, anybody can actually connect to you, and actually from there they can actually launch an attack, okay, or even perform identity theft, or even fraud on any of the devices or on the services itself. Later we'll see some example right along the way. So let's take a look at some global cyber incidents. I think there are actually a lot out there. Okay, just to mention some of the more interesting one. I think a security flaw in WordPress, right? Based on the software was found to have an issue, and that actually estimate to about 1.5 million pages of blogs being defaced. So it's also one of the important cyber incidents. And the second one, also the massive ransomware cyber attack that hit a lot of countries, right? So I think most of you heard about this. In fact, there are also a lot of other ransomware that came out after that. Okay. Then you also heard about Facebook, right, where millions of users' password, right, was actually stored in plain text for years. So there is actually a topic later on that I'll be touching on the protection of password that should not be in plain text. I'm also quite surprised that Facebook actually store their password in plain text, right? And actually there are also multiple applications that had problem as well. Okay, but these are just 3 areas from the global, and of course we have others. We have also the malware and ransomware from Vida Stealer and the Grand Crab ransomware as well. That was in January 2019. So they performed a 2-pronged cyber attack, right, on a lot of victims. So you can read the URL there. We have the Locker Goga, right, that took down a Hydro. This one is a ransomware as well. Okay, targeted in March 2019. Okay. We also have this US Baltimore. This one was in October, whereby the company wished to buy $20 million worth of insurance in the case of another cyber attack, just to prevent. Because in May, all right, in May they actually faced an attack on their computers, and in fact the attackers demanded 76,000 in Bitcoin as ransomware. Okay, so those are some examples. So in Singapore, also not spare. So we also have the following breaches. We have MINDEF, Internet System Breach. Okay, we have the Singapore University accounts breach or even stolen. So we even have Singapore malls. Okay, user hit in cyber attack as well. We also have the user affected by massive data breach in 2016. If you remember that, some of the software that was used. So of course, the most discussed cyber attack was the SingHealth. I think most of you know about this story. Okay, so this actually traced from 2017 all the way to 2018, whereby the attacker actually launched from the 23rd August from one of the, I think, workstation. All right, this one was due to a phishing email. Okay, a phishing email from an employee which clicked on some malicious activity on some file, and the attacker remains in the computer, okay, for almost like 4 months before it started to get more data. So there was a foothold on August 2017, and later on they move on, all right, to do more on the network inspection, and later on, there was more and more on the activity as well. Now, causes of cybersecurity breaches. Now, in terms of this was the study by SENS, all right, SENS Incident Response Survey, and one of the highest so-called causes of cybersecurity breaches was malware infection. Okay, in fact, in 2019, this is another of the a blog wrote by Retruster. If you click on the link, on the Retruster link, you'll be able to read some stories and blog stories on some of the statistics that was done. So in fact, phishing accounts for 90% of the data breaches. In fact, you've realized that most of you, in your email account, you should receive a lot of interesting email. Normally, a phishing email that sometimes get you into clicking on certain files, and to believe that this email actually came from an organization such as maybe DBS, banks, or even IKEA or whatever. Okay, so those are possible areas. And of course, the second highest will be unauthorized access due to the fact of the password, okay, or maybe authentication. And the other one is data breaches. So these three are the top areas, right, in terms of the data breaches. So I'd like to also show you the attention here on the Varonis blog on the cybersecurity statistic and as well as the data breach. So four main areas was highlighted in this statistic. The first one was the hackers attack every 39 seconds on average of 2,000 right times a day. So that's very, very high. This is actually a study based on university from the University of Maryland. And from a risk base, we have data breaches exposed 4.1 billion records in the first half of 2019. Then we have 57% of companies experience social engineering or phishing attack. Okay, this is by the Ponemon Institute, as well as the cost of a data breach in the healthcare industry was the highest at 6.5 million by IBM. Right, so these two are worth a read, very interesting. Now let me just introduce you to the anatomy of a ransomware attack. Okay, how actually this attacker conduct a simple attack, right? Okay, on a company using various means. Okay, you notice that she started off with some Facebook searching of accounts, linking of relationship, and then creating emails and also creating this is what I call company URL. And then the email itself, they fake a company email. So it looks like company and the URL has a misspelling. All right. And all these added together, all right, and was able to create a ransomware attack on a specific company. Okay, let's play it.
How did you decide to become a hacker?
Well, I'm not really sure what it means to become a hacker. That's like some guy in a hoodie who types really fast and stays up all night writing code and cracking passwords. It's not me. I just spy on people and see what makes them click. It's not a bad job.
The idea here is basically to get person to click on the phishing email, all right?
Mark Hanning, CEO of Qualicard, set to report earnings after their blockbuster IPO.
So you consider this a job?
I put a lot of work into this. I'm not lazy. It takes research to figure out the key players, learn all about them, their families, their friends, what they care about. You have to understand the company's organization. I get a lot of my information from the sales department because they're always so quick and eager. They're hungry. People trust too easily. They don't look at...
So look at this example on the use of the URL of a company. Okay, slight modification. If you're not careful, you thought that actually is the company called it qualicard.com.
The details. I do. Details matter. That's what I'm good at. It has to look completely believable. It has to look familiar. This is where research is important. It's not some generic piece of spam. It's an email from their boss with their company signature. It's written in the voice of the boss. It's what he would say if he were writing this.
What about the malware itself? How does that work?
Somebody else out there already wrote all the code that does the actual
So important
attack.
here is somebody else has wrote the code, and she, being a hacker who don't even know how to write a code, make use of somebody else's code and attach that particular code to the email. That's all.
I'm just using it in the attachment. My skill is in my ability to get a bunch of people to click on that attachment. I always wonder what it's like when the whole thing unfolds on their end, when the panic sets in.
Please leave your message after the beep.
Hey, this is Rajiv in finance. Call me as soon as you get this. Something's up with my laptop. I can't.
Katie, are you on your way into the office? Something's going on with our file servers.
Karen in HR, our benefits dashboard seems really slow.
So, and all the details, you can actually carry on, goes through the video. The point here is most of the sales guy, after reading the email from their CEO, definitely will have to click on it, right, to see what's happening and the story behind it, right? And then I think that that actually launched the attack and ransomware on a lot of company, right?
Users on it. Can you call it?
Okay, next, move on to the pillars of information security. Now, this is where most of our students goes through the foundational knowledge on how and the how part of how security actually came about and how we protect it. So the first part is the definition of information security. So this is actually by Wikipedia. Information security is the practice of preventing unauthorized access, use, disclosure, disruption, modification, inspection, okay, recording or destruction of information, right? So it actually entails a lot of so-called activities, right? So whatever it is, when we talk about security, three things always come to mind, okay? And we call this the foundational level, and they are the triangulation of so-called foundation security. So they are called the C, I, and A. The C being confidentiality, I being integrity, and A being availability. So how does this tree actually comes about to provide a fundamental of security? So if a system, okay, is considered secure, then it must have these three components. If the system itself is not secure, that means one of these components is not there. So to make sure that the system is secure, it must have the three components there. So the first one, confidentiality, ensures, or rather, the unauthorized disclosure of information. So I talk about confidentiality is really people trying to get information about a specific data, that's important data. When we talk about integrity, is the unauthorized modification of information. Data is being modified, data is being changed. And availability, unauthorized withholding information or resources. Data has been held up, right? Data is not being released. As a result, user wasn't able to access the data and make it available to most of the user. So if there is a way, all right, to make sure that these three things doesn't happen, then your system is considered secure, all right? So the example of the CIA, all right, we see the SingHealth system target cyber attack, right? Let's take a look at some of the key message from the press release, okay, and then we can map out some of the CIA here. So about 1.5 million patients visited SingHealth specialty outpatient and the polyclinic from blah, 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 okay, had their non-medical personnel particularly illegally accessed and copied. Right, so that means that unauthorized disclosure of information resulting loss of data. Okay, there's loss of data confidentiality. All right, no records were amended or deleted as claimed by the government, okay, or the organization, and data availability is not affected as well. Okay, so data availability is still not affected. Data integrity is not affected. However, the unauthorized access of user happened. So this entire system is not safe, all right? So another example is on the WannaCry. This is a ransomware as well. So example, the use of the CIA, how it was being mapped out. Okay, many of your documents, photos, videos, database, and other files are no longer accessible because they have been encrypted. So if you know about this a ransomware, right? How ransomware works is it uses something called the cryptography, right, to encrypt your files such that all your entire files in the folder itself will be protected, and there is a key that is being used to do the encryption. So the only way to get the key to decrypt the data and get back your data is to pay a ransom. So normally a time is given for you to pay. If the time is up and you doesn't pay the ransom, that means your file will forever be encrypted and never be recovered back again, right? So that is quite a dangerous malware. So for example, if you have your this external hard disk is always hooked onto your computer every time you log on to your computer, or you power on your computer, it's actually very dangerous. So if your malware ransomware happen to hit you, your entire hard disk, external hard disk can actually goes to be encrypted as well. So it's pretty dangerous. So here computer files are no longer accessible. So this amount to a loss of data availability. So that means the system is not safe. Okay, so that brings us to the next point on the operational model of security. So what does operational model security entails in a foundational level? Now, we always ask ourselves this question, okay? Does protection equates to prevention? Okay, now we can relate this maybe to a car that we own, all right? Now, if we provide proper preventive measures, okay, that, not to allow any intruders into our car, all right? That means we are considered protected. Is our car considered protected? So that comes to a question. So if let's say the preventive measures are not safe, that means are not enough, then what are the areas that we should put in to make it more secure? So we add on two items here. We call it the detection plus response. So one example will be even you have your alarm system in place, all right? So that's a preventive measures. So you have your alarm system in place. Now somebody broke the window of the car and was able to get into your car and drove off your car even there was an alarm. Okay, now the question here, was it detected? Did your car respond, or did alarm system respond to the breaking of the window? Okay, even if there is maybe there was a detection of the breaking of the window, all right, was there a response? Yes, the response was the alarm, but was the user being informed, okay, of the alarm that was triggered? So a lot of time we always thought, of example from our house perspective of our house, all right. If I have to provide enough lock to my house, I have a preventive measures onto my house. I will make sure I ensure that nobody actually comes to my house and steal my stuff, right? So that maybe solve the problem. Yes, okay. So you have the locks. Now, if one day, all right, we bring a friend home, okay, we open our door, we let our friend come into the house, all right. The next day, realize that some of our asset, money, wallet is missing. Okay, so did the system in the house, right? Do we have some kind of detection and response system to detect, somebody has took your wallet and respond to you? No, right? So even if you have a preventive measures, is not enough. Okay, you need to have a detection and a response system, and that is considered as a full protection. So other than CIA as a conceptual foundation, you need to have some form of action and reaction as well. Okay, so this when match up to the CIA itself, all right, we basically put in the prevent, detect, and respond to unauthorized disclosure for the confidentiality. Same prevent, detect, response for the integrity, as well as prevent, detect, and response for the availability. So having CIA is not enough. You need to also ensure that you provide proper preventive measures, detection measures, as well as the response itself. Okay, so some of you may ask, so what kind of preventive control, detection control, or response control can we have? So in fact, in our class or in our module itself, we normally cover a lot of these items, but because today is just a very short one, we just quickly go through the so-called the gist of it. So for preventive control, normally what we have is access control, can be things like login, two-factor authentication, or you can have your usual firewall as your first level preventive control, or you provide encryption to protect your data. The second part, detection, is the one that allows you to provide intelligence. Okay, this is more towards an AI system. Okay, now detect is an example of an AI. So if you're able to detect, that means the software somehow detect there is some kind of an anomalies. Okay, anomalies are what we call patterns. So patterns provide anomalies. Okay, so if we are able to provide that kind of pattern, and then we can safely say that, oh, this particular action has triggered a response. All right. So in this case, if we talk about the intrusion detection system, okay, we talk about an event has happened, and if that event itself is a warrant us a true, a so-called attack, then I'll probably respond to the user with either SMS or whatsoever. Okay, so that is a detection. So detection takes on a lot of software, algorithm, and AI. So other than anomalies detection, we talk about data as well. Okay, the use of data, okay, to identify certain anomalies. Okay, the next one is the response. So after you have the detection, you need to respond to the attack itself. So response takes on example backup. So you need to look into the backup system, okay, all the data itself that you have. We look at the incident response, okay, measures that you have if things happen, if an attack come in, how do you respond to that particular incident? How about computer forensic itself? How about if you to make sure that you want to bring the person to court itself, you need to have specific evidence. And those evidence are where you will have to gather from your data that you have collected or your backup, and use those evidence to bring certain hackers to court itself. So that brings us to the next point on predictive analytics. Okay, now predictive analytics allow us to combine the use of data that we have. Okay, now a lot of time system has our system lock down a lot of data. Okay, one example that I can quote you is login data. So user log in at a certain time, user had key in a wrong password for 7 times within 5 seconds. Maybe it's a bot attack, all right? And that warrant may be a suspicious activity. So when you talk about suspicious activity, it can be a false alarm, or it can be a real activity. So you really need to measure and adjust the so-called sensitivity of the detection. Right, so that amounts to another thing called the AI, so AI. So then you need to identify the relevant incidents, whether that particular incidents allow you to create an event, okay, or trigger off an alarm. And lastly, the automated task, the task that will be triggered off, whether to shut down the server, okay, or send SMS to the user or administrator itself. Okay, so you can actually look through this video, which I think is quite interesting in terms of the big data security analytics, okay, in some of the key findings study, right, on the use of big data security. Okay, next, the core security principle. So what does a core security principle entails? This one is to introduce to students some of the key terms when you do your presentation of your project, when you have some security terms that you need to apply them. Okay, the first one is what we call the asset. So anything that is in the house itself that you need to be protected are called the assets. Okay, the second one is called the threat agent. Okay, any assets that needs to be protected is considered a threat agent. Okay, so the person, okay, who steals that asset itself, okay, for example, a thief is called a threat agent. Okay, the thief stealing the valuables from the house itself, we call that a threat. Okay, a threat itself. And the windows, okay, windows that can be broken easily is considered as a vulnerability. Okay, so it's vulnerable to the attack. Next will be the exploit. So the exploitation is due to the broke through the window to gain entry into the house. So vulnerability talks about the weakness. Okay, exploit talks about how it actually went into the method used. And then we have the risk is the measurement of how high, how low can this a threat happen to you. So the threat can be of high risk, this threat can be of low risk. Okay, so measurable by the exploit and the vulnerability as well. Okay, so these are the actual explanation on the terms used. So please use them accordingly to your project if you want to use them meaningfully. So these whole areas of definition, right, actually encompass 3 different aspects. So it actually can be applied in application, network, as well as the infrastructure. So application can be web application, can be any form of application that's running on a software, or it can be a network level. So network level meaning we're talking about this networking, right, in your company, even at home, okay, Wi-Fi, LAN, or network access LAN. And the infrastructure itself is the IT infrastructure, right? Can be a cloud infrastructure, can be your virtual machines infrastructure, can be a form of infrastructure that is used as IT. And in terms of security principle, we have a few to introduce. The first one is how do you protect your system? The first example of a security principle will be least privilege. So do not provide all the necessary permission, but just provide minimum permission to anybody who just did it and not give extra. Okay, that will help you to limit your security exposure. Okay. So a good example will be administrators always have the entire control of the computer, right? So versus a guest will have limited access or permission to the security system itself. So another form of security principle you can think of, all right, to protect your project or to use in a project itself can be layered security or defenses. So layered security defense talk about each layer having their own defense strategy. Okay, so knowing that different hackers come in with a different so-called ability or ways to hack into your system. So it's necessary to use different ways, okay, to slow down the attack. So example will be this, a classical example, I think most of us have this, will be the firewall in our network or firewall in our computer. That's the very first level, or firewall in our router itself for home networking. The second level will be our virus, antivirus system, right? That will help us to protect any malware that come in. The third one is to control the usage of the system. So when I log into the system, I get access to all the data and the services. So at least 3 layers of protection, all right, before it reaches your computer's data and services. Okay, another one is to minimize attack surface. Now, by minimizing attack surface means that you actually reduce the number of entry or exit points to your assets. Now, let's take a look at these 2 examples. Now, on the left side, the apartments usually comes with only one entrance, okay, one main door that goes to your house. All right. Now, on the right-hand side is basically an open concept. That means if a hacker will come in, he can come from different direction. Okay, so on the right-hand side is not a very good design for security. On the left-hand side is a very good design for security. Now, security versus convenience is always opposite. To have more convenience, that means it will have less security. So on the right-hand side, of course, there's more convenience. All right. On the left-hand side, you have a less convenient because there's only one simple door to go in and one single door to go in, but it's highly secure. So it's the same as the number of locks you would like to have for your door. Are you going to have 3 locks, 4 locks, 5 locks, or just 1 lock for your door? The more lock you have, the more security. Okay. However, inconvenience. Okay, another example on minimize attack surface in the use of your system, right, is to reduce the unused application, all right, in your computer itself. The lesser application that you're exposed to is the less opportunity that the so-called application that has some malicious intent or usage, okay, will attack your system. So I think one example is the UAC enabled, whereby Windows 10 prompt users or for a administrative credential before installing any software itself. Okay. Okay, another example that was used in government agency after some of the many of the cyber attack that happened in Singapore, right, is to actually separate internet access, all right, from our so-called secure system. Now imagine that today in most of the governments, this internet policy, surfing policy is in most government agencies. If you have a secure system means that the system is inside a secure network itself. Okay, that means it's protected. And yet, staff gets to access the internet. So when staff gets to access the internet means that the browser actually has an access to the outside world. And that can provide an opportunity of attack. Okay, so the best is to separate internet browsing, all right, from your secure computer. So the secure computer basically will be used more for internal usage, whereas separate computers can be used for browsing of internet itself or more on a non-secure LAN. Okay. Okay, another security principle is to keep things simple. All right. Now, keeping things simple is to make it more manageable. If anybody were to take over your system, okay, from today onwards, maybe when you're going on leave, it's easier to manage, easier to keep up if anything happen. All right. If you have many different vendors in your network itself, you use different equipment and different vendors have different software, different ways of doing things. It can be very difficult and not so straightforward in terms of configuration when things happen. Okay, so always keep things simple is the best. Okay, the next concept we're going to introduce is the access control. Okay, access control talks about the 4 areas, which is, I think here, example from that house, the same house that we talked about previously. Okay, so the first question is, who is the owner of the house? Okay, the second is, how can a person prove that he's allowed to enter the house? Okay, so this is more on authorization, who is being authorized. The third one, the owner should be able to access house freely, including the valuables. Then he should be able to access certain so-called asset and resources. How will the owner know if all the access are legitimate? Okay, so is there a way to find out, from the so-called maybe camera or data that was being logged, that the person who came in was the actual person? So was there any way to track back? Okay, so to map back these 4 areas, so it gives us the first one as identification. That means who you really are. All right. The second one, authentication, proving that you know who you are. So this is actually more on a system or a method to prove that your first one. So authentication is a mechanism to prove the identification itself. Okay. Authorization is the mechanism to identify what you have access to. Okay. And the last one, of course, to account for the person who make use of the resources. Okay. And let's look back at the data or the log itself and confirm that the usage were actually by the user himself, okay, or the main user. So 4 areas: identification, authentication, authorization, auditing in terms of access control. So let's go into each of them. Okay, the first one, identification. What can you use as identification? So basically, you talk about who you are. So it's good to identify the following information: your NRIC, user ID, your biometric can be used as a unique trademark, okay, to identify yourself. So the point here is uniqueness. Okay, all right. Somehow that someone in the entire world will not have the same user ID. So it's quite unique. So most of the time you realize that NRIC in Singapore is quite unique. Okay, or email can be a unique user ID as well. Okay, your thumbprint, okay, and your retina, all this can be used as a biometric trails. So authentication talk about the method, right? The methods used to identify the individual. So 3 questions: what you know, what you have, and who are you? Okay, or who you are. So in terms of what you know, will be more on something that is something that you remember. Okay, for example, your password and your PIN is something that you know and only you will know and none others unless you share with somebody. Next one, what you have, it can be physical, all right? Most of the time it can be a token or something that has been sent to you and not on memory, but was really sent to you. Okay, so that could be an OTP, a one-time password from a mobile phone SMS. What you are, all right, that means something that is unique to you physically. It can be fingerprint, retina, face, or you prefer to have behavioral biometrics by having what we call the keystroke dynamics, drawing of pattern to log in, or even voice recognition. And the last one is the connective biometric, which is quite interesting. If you have a WeChat and you know that if you lose your account, WeChat, you ask your question, which are following are your friends. And it's can be quite challenging at times because we can't really remember those faces and what is my friend's name. Okay, so it can be specific faces to recognize to recover your account, or it can be some memorable events that you can key in to identify some of the few options available okay, to provide cognitive biometrics, something that you remember, only you. So in terms of authentication, we have one factor or two factor. This is not new to most of the professionals here. All right, one factor is a single login. Two factor can be a login together with a token or SMS or OTP. And you can even have a multi-factor authentication. Why not? You can 3-factor, 4-factor, 5-factor, up to you. Again, it comes, it boils down to the point of convenience versus security. Okay. So in terms of authorization, what the user is allowed to do. Okay, authorization is can be explicitly, be controlled whether you are granted access or explicitly deny access to a specific resources. Okay, that's called authorization. So basically, it's providing the control of the entity. So the next one is the auditing. Auditing talks about some of the key data collection. All right, so auditing is accounting as well. Some of the history data that was being locked down as transaction. So these are the transactions that's required, especially you need to do analytic study, okay, or perform analytics on a specific security system. So you need to have all these auditing accounts. So as I said, as I mentioned before, so if you want to have auditing of an account on login, then you must make sure that any of the login must be logged. Lockout also must be logged, so that there is enough data for you to run to identify certain events that happen, okay, and detect any malicious activity. I think it's just I'll just quickly skip through, all right, because I think most of you are familiar with this DBS identifying access control. I think we know lah. So this is the part whereby we use for the ID. The first factor is the PIN, right, and the second factor is our SMS with OTP. Okay, and most of the time after, before you just log out, right, they will actually show you the audit activities, okay, what time you log in and what time you log out. So the duration that you use for your entire so-called login and logout. Okay, fundamental of cryptography. Now, cryptography is the science of transforming data, right, okay, from something that is readable to something that is non-readable. Okay, so a lot of people are asking, why would somebody want to make something unreadable? Okay, because it is controlled by a key. So with the key itself, I can unlock the non-readable to something that is readable back again. So that gives us the process, encryption and decryption. A very good example that I always share with students is this. Using pictures as can also be used to decode a 4-letter word. You're not trying? So what do you think is the answer? Looking at the 4 pictures, what do you think is the 4-letter answer? Okay, answer is full, right? Okay, here is full of money. The beer is full. Okay, the card is full. Try the second one. After the first one, normally most of the students get the second one. 5-letter word. Answer is white, right? Okay. So these are examples. Even pictures can be used to hide words. All right. So this gives us another 4 different theory here in terms of cryptography. So how we can use a cryptography for authentication purpose. So that will help you to identify the party that we're trying to communicate. Using cryptography to do a confidentiality, that means providing assurance that only the authorized user will be able to view the important data. The message integrity, okay, ensures that only authorized individual can change the information if required to. And non-repudiation is the most difficult to understand. But when you say non-repudiate, means that you cannot deny. You cannot deny that you didn't do it. Okay, so there must be a way when using cryptography, right? There must be a way to identify, hey, you are the one who created this. Okay, so you cannot deny later on. So it's non-denier. It's called non-repudiation, non-denier. A very simple cryptographic system looks like that. With a plain text means a normal text that's readable text. Okay, when given an encryption algorithm, all right, and a key and algorithm put in together, all right, you're able to get something that's being scrambled, which is a ciphertext. Okay, so this ciphertext basically is scrambled text that doesn't make any sense at all. Okay, so the strength of this ciphertext, okay, to break this ciphertext, the only way is to either break the algorithm or break the key. Okay, so either or, you must know what is the weakest link. So once the key is broken, then the ciphertext can be broken. Okay, or the algorithm is broken, then the ciphertext can be broken as well. So the strength of this ciphertext depends on these two, key and the algorithm. Algorithm is a mathematical equation written by someone, okay, to ensure that this plain text can be scrambled, to something that is non-readable and strong enough that it cannot be returned back to the original state without using the key itself. Okay. And of course, if you use an encryption and decryption algorithm, you produce back, given the key, the actual plain text itself. Here, a simple cryptographic system like this, okay, will give us a very good example on again 4 areas of the a crypto. So the first one is what I call the encryption. It is where data is being encrypted, okay, by the use of a single key and algorithm to produce what I call a non-readable text called a ciphertext, which is the encrypted text. And decryption is the process of retrieving the original text, right, from the ciphertext by the use of the key. So key is used for both the encryption and the decryption process. So notice in this whole entire process, right, one key is being used. It's just like a normal a Word document, a PDF document. So normally when you want to secure a document, what you normally do, you key in a password, right? You key a password to the document. So that actually becomes the key. So the key is the password to open up the ciphertext, okay? And there must be some algorithm that is being used together with the password entered will help to scramble this. So similarly, okay, so the key can be a password. So whatever is being used to encrypt the password, okay, use the same key with the same password to decrypt it. So what this is called the same key, okay, or one key system. Okay, so symmetric key system actually works like a one key system. Okay, so in terms of algorithm, right, basically there are 2 types of algorithm in this world. We call it symmetric algorithm. Okay, the other one we call it the asymmetric algorithm. Okay, the symmetric algorithm uses one key system. It uses the same key to encrypt and the same key to decrypt. Now, the danger of this is that if you use the same key to encrypt and you share this key with the recipient, okay, and if this recipient is not careful, he lost the key or somebody knows about the key, and that becomes no longer safe. Because now more than one or more than 2 people knows about the secret. Okay, so it's not safe at all. But the good thing about this symmetric key algorithm is superbly fast, very, very efficient. So if you have a very large plain text, encryption is very, very fast. Okay, so the key highlight is fast and efficient, but not safe to use. All right. Now, compared to asymmetric key algorithm, it uses 2 different sets of key. Okay, a key 1 and a key 2. Okay, now the reason for using 2 key system, because we're not going into detail, there's actually a private key and a public key. So to make things easy, we just say that they have actually a 2 key system. So each of them will have a pair of key and they share one set of key to each other. Okay, so basically that's how it works. So with 2 key system, it becomes safer. However, 2 key system makes the whole encryption process very, very inefficient, very, very slow. Okay, however, this whole asymmetric key algorithm is very, very safe. Okay, so very safe to use, but not efficient in terms of the use of the encryption decryption. So we have a example of a traditional a cipher here. Before I come to here, I just want to quickly skip a few slides and goes to this portion here by we do a comparison between the symmetric key and asymmetric key algorithm. So for symmetric key algorithm, we use the same key. For asymmetric key, use a different set of key. Okay, so much more troublesome because when there's a different set of key, you need to manage the key. Speed-wise, very fast. Speed-wise for asymmetric is very slow. Okay, the size of it less than the usually is the ciphertext less than a plain text. The ciphertext more than a plain text, meaning it's quite heavy, not efficient. Okay, key exchange can be a big problem because if I lose the key, somebody will have the key and the secret can be made known to many people. This key exchange no problem because this key is only one set of key. One key is being shared among each other. All right, and if I lost the key, it's not a problem because the key is one of the keys is meant to be public. Okay, so all in all, later on you see that this concept can be translated to one important concept. So I just skip this portion first. I go back to the Shift cipher. Okay, now Shift cipher is one of the very traditional ciphers that you see. Cipher is an example of the way you scramble things. So I would say this is an example of an algorithm. Okay, an algorithm. So a cipher can be a method used to make things scramble up. So this Shift cipher was the very first cipher that was taught by Julius Caesar. He is a Roman general who actually was famous in terms of the creation of the Roman Empire. So during his time, he actually created something called a Shift cipher. This is a device that consists of two layers of a ring. Okay, each ring itself has 26 alphabets that you can interchange or turn left or turn right. So before the war, normally he will inform the general, okay, whether it's going to turn left or turn right. If I turn left by 3, okay, for this particular today, we'll do a left turn of 3. Maybe for tomorrow, we'll do a right turn of 5. So the instructions given will have from day 1 to day 10, for example, and each general will be given this particular device. Okay, so with that, you have two sets of ring from A to Z, A to Z. So depending on the shift that it works. Now, if you have 0 shift, means A maps to A. So the plain text message attack at dawn remains the same as attack at dawn. Okay. But if you were to say left shift by 1, that means now A becomes B. Now that means that if you have a plain text called attack at dawn, so I can actually change the A to B, all right, T to U, and then send this cipher text out to all the generals. And the general will have to use the ring, okay, and say today is left turn 1. Let's take a look. Oh, and map back B is A, and get back the actual original text itself. Okay, so that was really the very first way of creating cipher. Not safe, of course. There's only 26 chance for us to map out and guess the this plain text. Just like our bicycle lock, right? Our bicycle lock only has 4 different sections. Each section has only 6 to 9 numbers, or sometimes up to 10 numbers. So if you do permutation, you know that you actually can sit for half a day to open up the lock itself. Okay, so there's also something called the cryptographic hash function. This hash function plays a very important role in terms of password security. Okay, a hash actually is a fixed length of hash value that is used to uniquely identify a message. Okay, or what I call a fingerprint. So if I have a word called apple, and I hash this word, you produce a number. Okay, now this number is always fixed to this the letter used. So if I have an apple, I hash again, I always get back the same value. The same value is used to compare whether this password matches or not. Okay, so that's why we should not be saving our password in clear, but we should save our password in hash. So this gives us some concept. This one is a major concept which is currently used in most of our browser currently. Just to quickly just run through a bit more on the higher concept. You have saw public key. okay, the recipient's public key and the private key. Now, these two keys is a key pair that was generated from our asymmetric key system. Now, the public key pair is being used to encrypt the symmetric key, okay, and the symmetric key is used to encrypt the plain text to produce the ciphertext. Now, because the public key is used, because this is a recipient's public key, okay, when I use a recipient public key, okay, recipient is the only person who can open up this because he has the corresponding private key. As you can see here, the recipient private key can be used to decrypt the encrypted symmetric key, which is used to encrypt this symmetric ciphertext. Now, the reason for doing this is we know, number one, symmetric key is fast, efficient, but not safe. Correct? Not safe. So the only way to make it safe is to use the symmetric key algorithm to encrypt the symmetric key and send across. So this will ensure that the other party will receive the symmetric key, and he's the only person in the world who will receive the symmetric key. So the symmetric key, I can now use it to decrypt the plain text because symmetric key is efficient, so it's able to decrypt the ciphertext fast. Okay, but because of the key is not safe, so we use the asymmetric key system to protect the symmetric key. Okay, and the plain text being hashed to provide the purpose to identify originality, whether this particular plain text received remains original or not. So I hash these plain text, I will get a value, we call it message digest. Okay, and I compare that message digest we used to do signing, okay, to the message is here. I sign it using a sender's private key. So this is a way to create a digital signature, okay, and send it to the other side. So the other side used the sender's public key to decrypt and somehow created a message digest. So they compare these two message digests and then says that, hey, this plain text, okay, has this value. I compare with the one that was encrypted. It should match up. If match up means that this plain text remains original. Okay, so in this whole entire operations, actually can take up to about an hour to explain. Solve three problems. Number one, you solve the problem of a key that is being weak, which is a symmetric key, but can be used to encrypt and decrypt a large text file fast. So this is being solved. The other one is the key is not safe. It's solved by using a asymmetric key system. Next, the original text is being identified because we use hash, and the one that is being verified remains original. Okay, so simple operation like that, right, allows us to identify that this particular message created was really from the sender, okay, and none others. Plus, it is safe. Okay, now there is a workshop inside the folder which I sent to you all in the QR code. You can actually run through the Crypt tool version 1. Don't use the version 2. Okay, version 1 actually goes through this shift cipher, symmetric, asymmetric, hash, and digital signature. Okay, in terms of password, usage of password. So in 2017, this is considered some of the worst password. I hope you guys don't have this kind of password. Now, current context, right? Most of the system has already set strong password for all the so-called system. That means all users who wish to register a specific account will need to have at least 8 characters, okay, uppercase, lowercase, special characters, okay, as well as numerals. So all these passwords, right, 1, 2, 3, 4 are no longer available, are not possible in any of the system now. But in 2017, they are considered some of the worst because they can be cracked by any a password decryptor, okay, almost immediately. Now, I look at the time, not much time. So can I get you guys to just play this on your own computer and look through how they actually crack the password here. Now, the idea of cracking password is basically to crack the hash. There's no way to crack a password so fast unless we can guess the password using the hash that was created. If I can create a hash, all right, and match your hash, I know that this is the password that I'm going to use. So normally it's what we call rainbow attack or dictionary attack. I just skip through this.
In this video, we'll see how passwords.
Okay, now these are some resources which are quite interesting for you to try on. Okay, the first one is to just create a hash generator. Okay, so you key in your password and it will actually give you a hash. Now you put in the hash into this password cracking tool on the third line. Okay, if your password is weak, it should be able to crack almost immediately in 0.1 second or even in 2 seconds, depending. If your password conforms to all the complexity, then this password cracking tool will take a longer time. Okay, and this password strength is to identify if your password is good or no good. Okay, I'll quickly finish this internet threat. Now, internet threat itself, I think 3 main areas that we wish to highlight. The first one is phishing, ransomware, and tech support scam. So these are reported from SingCert, which is considered some of the highest reported incidents so far. So phishing is from email. Ransomware is from malware. Okay, this is due to your own user in a company clicking on the email, right? And so creating more trouble, okay, to your account. Ransomware is downloading of software, and those software becomes bad, and they can control or encrypt your entire system. And tech support scam are the one that use social engineering to talk to you, okay, as if they are the boss or they know your boss. Okay, using social engineering means. So this example of a targeted phishing attack is I think similar one to the video I show. So if you receive such email, okay, do check out, for example, consistent branding look. Okay, they normally address the recipient, so you don't even know that this could be a scam. No apparent misspelling or grammatical error, very professional. Hovering mouse, now this is where you have to be very careful, because every time you click on change password, all right, and you actually doesn't really goes to that Google, but it goes to a bit.com/GBLOOK. In fact, you're not sure. Okay. So, and actually, your actual Google account is this, but this is the wrong account. But when you click on the link, guess what happened? When you click on the link, it looks exactly like Google. Okay, and you didn't suspect anything. So the moment you key in your username and password, of course the password will never change, but it has been recorded down. So the person at the other end will now be able to use your username and password to log into your system immediately and change your password. And then you'll not be able to get into your system anymore or your Google account. Okay, that's an example of a phishing attack. Okay, I think there are also various software out there that helps us to identify, the real user pictures from the fake one, or the Facebook itself. Normally, we have this little blue tick here, all right, from Facebook to identify or verify a specific user. Okay. Okay, last one, web communication. Identifying authentic website. All right, it's good to look at a website with a lock. When you see a lock, right, itself actually is considered as a secure. All right, so make sure you actually look at the so-called website. And most of the website nowadays already come with a secure lock. Okay, secure lock with a HTTPS. That means the communication between the two parties are actually uses encryption technology. So HTTP versus HTTPS, always good to use HTTPS, because the HTTPS ensure the data that sends between the browser, which is you, all right, to the company itself is encrypted. Right? Without HTTPS, it's HTTP. Anything that you communicate between the two users, the data actually is in clear, and actually user can actually steal data from there, quite easily. So if you look at the second picture below, there is something called the Ssl certificate. All right. Now on the user end, you normally don't see a SSL certificate. So a certificate identifies the host that you're connecting, the server you're connecting. So for example, today you type www.dbs.com. Now you must, after this session, most of the users normally are very careful on the URL they type. When you type dbs.com, are you sure that is the correct DBS that you're connecting to? are you very sure that the server, they just say, show you the first page actually belongs to DBS? How sure are you that is not the wrong dbs.com before you put in your username and password and your OTP? Correct? So what actually helps you was this thing called the Ssl certificate. Now, this certificate was actually stored into your browser. So every time your browser contacts the SSL to the dbs.com, DBS will challenge, hey, all right, the browser will challenge the DBS, hey, show me your certificate, decrypt the content of my information that I just sent from my browser. If you're able to decrypt it, it means that you are a real DBS because the certificate is stored in the browser here. So it's being used to do the communication work between the two guys. So if your browser is being attacked, all right, and being replaced with another SSL certificate, then it's going to be dangerous. Okay, so having said that, let's take a look at what you mean by a digital certificate. A digital certificate is not any certificate that is being created by anyone, but it's by a third-party company. They paid for it. So all companies that has a digital certificate has to be they have to purchase a certificate from a third party. Okay, so these are the things that the certificate will be generated using certain algorithm the day it was created. All right. There isn't anything that shows a signature. Let me see. Yep, there's no signature here. All right. So this is an example of the details of the certificate as well. Okay, it belongs to who? All right, in this certificate, and issue by who? All right, this certificate. So normally the certificate are stored in your browser. All right, and let me take a look here. Yes, if you look at the one on the right-hand side below, there is something called signature. So that particular signature, all right, is actually signed by a third-party trust body. The person who created this certificate will actually put their signature into this certificate, all right? So you actually can verify if this certificate is real or not, just like your birth cert, okay? The moment you have your birth cert, you need to go to ICA. ICA will have to, create the cert, put a signature on it. How do you know that this particular cert is really created by the person, okay, the manufacturer? They have a signature. So this is a digital signature created. So this is the resources that that you can read through. Okay, quite interesting. And I think that's all I have as a very foundational level introduction on cybersecurity. Now we just open for some Q&A. All right, if anybody have any question to ask. Shin, Rachel, is it? Are they muted? Can they on their mic? Okay, right?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. So any question from
Okay.
anybody?
You can type on the chat also.
Yeah, let's take a look.
But there's no question so far.
Okay. Okay. So far no question. So I hope the session gives you a very good foundational understanding of cybersecurity. All right. As I said, so this entire content really is for our secondary school students and our tertiary students. So for the professionals, maybe it'll be too basic for you guys.
Okay. Thanks, Siri, so much. Okay. Yeah, I think there is a question here. Okay.
Lillian Wong.
Yeah, from Lillian.
Are you involved in the IHIS cyber attack? Oh, no, not involved. So we actually get the information from the data, okay, from the so-called block that was shared by the government agency. Yep.
Okay. Okay, there are three questions here. You want to answer them or can you see?
I only see one.
Q&A. You look at the Q&A.
Q&A. Oh yeah. Okay, the first question, thank you very much. Okay, would you only trust algorithms that have been publicly published. Now it depends. Now if the so-called algorithm has been publicly published and used by organizations that are trusted, okay, I think it's okay to use them. Okay, I wouldn't use any of the algorithm written by any developer out there, or I don't even recommend you yourself to write your own algorithm and use them. Okay, it's entirely not safe. Okay. Can we know any security for medical device? No, so sorry, we don't do a low level security on medical devices. Okay. And what are the cybersecurity certifications do you recommend? In fact, there are many this cybersecurity certification out there. There is something to do with auditing. Audit, if you're interested in audits, right? There is, I can't remember the name of the certification. Okay, there is this certification that you can take to help to look into the IT audit. Okay, if not, in fact, CSA itself also have many. If you go to CSC website, right, they also have many certifications that recommend. In fact, certifications, there's a lot of different type. They have network level, they have application code level certification. They have a lot of different certification. Okay, it really depends on what you are looking for. All right, for Yuan Lok, right? Yeah. So what is your area, Yuan Lok? Are you on network or application or whatsoever? What's the path that I can take to become a cyber security specialist? Okay, anomalous attendee. It's okay, it's not that difficult to be a cyber security specialist. You just have to be involved in certain project. Okay, like myself, okay, like myself, I do a lot of application. So I'm more towards application level security. So I'm more towards code level security. Okay, so most of my time I spend on coding, and then I look at and my student benefited from my exposure to my project. So I do a lot of application security, how to write secure coding. So writing secure coding, you just need to practice. So the more you practice, the more you're into that area, then you're better. So or you can be involved in network, specialized in network, and then from there you can operate on firewalls. And this also can be a cybersecurity specialist. Okay. Now, some people will of course say, "Oh, if I take certification, that I become a cybersecurity specialist." Not true. I think you need to practice. You need to be in that particular line. You need to be involved in certain activities. Then I think it's good to become a specialist. Okay. Okay. So project Yuan Lok is in project management. Yeah. So Yuan Lok is more on project management. Project management normally is actually has a lot of different aspect of this. There's one part on the project management on certification as well. But security wise on project management, normally there isn't. If unless you want to do auditing, then maybe it's more applicable. Yep.
Okay, so any further questions from the audience? I'm not sure whether Shin Yi wants to talk a little bit about the cybersecurity career. Shin Yi, are you there? Shin Yi? Yes.
Hi, yeah.
You'd like to share a little about the career path for cybersecurity?
Okay. So actually, cybersecurity actually is a team sport, right? And actually, we need a lot of diverse background to tackle a lot of this the evolving cyber challenges. So in terms of career-wise, actually, I can actually use CSA as a reference, because actually CSA really have a very diverse kind of job roles in the sector. So there are, of course, just now, like Mr. Wong has mentioned, there's also very operational roles, technical operational roles. So there are things like, threat monitoring, incident response, threat analysis. So we do have such kind of roles that's more of the technical kind of nature. And in cybersecurity, there are also varied roles such as in the strategy, like policy making. We have colleagues who actually do international G2G kind of like work. That means government to government kind of work. And there are also like for us, for myself, it's like we are focused on the workforce development. So we work with communities, we work with companies, we work with academia and all that to really roll out training, not only training programs, but can be initiatives and all that to help to bring more people, more talent into the sector, as well as also to deepen the skills of the existing cybersecurity professionals. And yeah, and then of course there are the others will be like, there's also like communications kind of work, because we find that actually communications is also very important. Whether is it communications internally in the organizations, and as well as also communicating to the public. So these are all very important roles in cybersecurity. Yeah. So yes, actually it's really a sector with a lot of good opportunities. A lot of people are looking for cybersecurity professionals. Yes. So yes, please, do embark on the journey soon. Yeah.
Just to maybe add on, in terms of the career, one key aspect when I'm doing the application security itself is very important is the pen testing. So actually one of the key career also in terms of security specialist you can be roped in as pen tester. I think tester actually is a very good role, because by running software, you can see some of the vulnerability, okay, the threats involved, and the key areas that certain we call it the open source community is looking into, okay, how to solve some of the key attack issues. So by running, by actually involved in pen testing, actually can learn a lot as well. Yep.
Maybe I also want to add on, I think in cybersecurity, a lot of things is not just traditional classroom training. So I think just now, I think Mr. Wang correctly pointed out. So we also understand from colleagues in the pen testing, in digital forensic, in malware analysis and all that, they actually a lot of times, they all first started with a lot of trial and error, and also getting on to a lot like challenges, like maybe the CTFs and all that, capture the flag. They all started from somewhere. That means really to do some practice and all that. So I think beyond just getting the theory, all these applications are very important to build up these all your skills.
Hey, just to add on the some of the certification that someone asked, because okay, for the foundational content that I shared just now, okay, on the CIA, and in fact in most of the content, you notice that 30 to 40% coverage is in the CISSP. Okay, for those who are interested, you can pursue on the CISSP. As I say, you must be in the career, you must do something with security first before you embark on any certification. Don't just go for a certification first, and then you may not even understand some of the key security terms and aspect of the usage as well. So do involve in certain aspect, and then on the job, then at least you gather enough experience. Then when you do the certification, you will be also interesting to learn from there. Our students mostly take things like CH. CH is what you call the Certified Ethical Hacker. Okay, because they have been in year 1, year 2, then they are able to go into Certified Ethical Hacker certification. So not easy. And then they really need to learn all these different technology. And of course, the other one, of course, is the CompTIA, CompTIA Security Plus, which are the material is normally almost similar, about 30-40% from our own coverage as well. Yep.
Okay, good. Thanks so much to Yi and thanks to Xin Yi. Perhaps can I have Nalini? She's a committee member of the Splash Awards, and she will be saying a few words. Over to you, Nalini.
Thanks, Camilla. Okay, yeah, thank you all for joining today's
Where is she? Oh dear, where is Nalini? Hi, Nalini, are you still there? I think we lost her somehow. Where is she? So sorry about this. I think she was about to say something, I think. Nalini, are you there? Okay, never mind. I think we shall not waste everybody's time. We just want to thank all of you for attending today's session. And we just want to tell you that we are planning for the V-Splash Awards finals and ceremony that is taking place very soon, which is on the 11th of November. And what happens is that we are using a very, very unique virtual platform, which is a VR platform. We are going to announce it very soon, where you will actually enter the space using avatars and so on. Okay, we shall not say too much about it. So we want to thank all of you for your support, and hopefully you can join us on 11th of November, and it is a virtual Splash Awards finals and ceremony. Okay, you can visit our Splash website, basically a SES website, ses.org.sg, and then you just click onto awards and you'll be able to see Splash Awards details there. Okay, I don't know where is Nalini now. Okay, so probably never mind. We want to thank you. We will oh dear, okay, I think Nalini, are you back?
Yes, I'm back. Sorry.
Okay, she's flashing the feedback. So basically, all of you, we appreciate your feedback. Let us know how we can further improve our sessions, and we really appreciate Tui for taking his time. He's a lecturer from NYP, and the Friday evening where he said okay, he will do it for us. And also thanks to Xin Yi for also taking time to join us today. All of you, we hope you can really flash your feedback and then share with us what you think of today's session. Shini and Tui, do you have any last words to share with the our audience here?
No. Just enjoy your weekend or.
Yeah, not from me also. Yeah, enjoy your dinner.
Okay, sure. Okay, thank you everyone. Have a good weekend. Bye. Okay, bye-bye.